Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture. I'm cosplayer Cap Santiago. So, what's up, man?
Good, good. How you doing?
I am fantastic. It's been a while since we did an interview. What is it?
Yeah.
3, 4 years at this point?
Honestly, I've lost count. I don't know how long it's been.
Well, we'll give a time date for it. So, we did an interview when you were on that Nova cover for Marvel ages ago with a bunch of
Ooh,
other people, and that's like decades or light years ago, really. So that's when we
yeah.
did the last one. So if anybody knows when that is, that's kind of the timestamp. And so I think that's a really good place to sort of introduce you because some people might have not heard that interview. So that's kind of what really sort of got my attention with you and your
Mhm.
cosplay. So I think that's a good starting place just to catch everybody up to speed.
Okay. Well, my name is Cap Santiago, obviously. Um, I was on the cover of Marvel Comics for Nova #1, cosplay variant. Uh, After that, I've done a number of other things. I've competed in many costume contests. I've won. I was also featured in season 2 of Marvel's Becoming, where I was Ares, God of War. I also competed and was the inaugural first ever World Series of Cosplay champion down in Las Vegas. And I also did a successfully funded Kickstarter for my own calendar, my own solo calendar, the Cap Calendar, which is completely sold out. Very, very, very proud of that. I still do animal volunteering at the shelters. I still foster kittens.
So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about some of that. So what is the World Series of cosplay? Because I'm not a cosplayer. I don't want to cosplay. It's not my forte, but cosplay is great. It's awesome. And I just don't know as much about that. And I think a lot of people don't know as much about that, but they might have seen it.
Well, the World Series of Cosplay is part of a Comic Con called Toy Con. It's a convention that travels along the West Coast, and they do a winner in each of their contests, and then at the end, they do the World Series Championship, where every winner from every one of their shows competes in the last show of the year. So I competed in the last show of the year. Now, I want to backtrack because what drew me to this contest was the fact that a friend of mine won a championship belt. It was a World Series qualifier championship belt. And I was like, ooh, that's so pretty. I want that. I want to win that. And that's what made me research more about ToyCon and the World Series of cosplay. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to apply. I'm going to see if they accept me and see if I do it. And I competed as Black Knight. And at the end, I won first place. I had a huge trophy, which I had to take apart and ship it back to me, back to myself in New York. But it came back in shambles because the post office in Las Vegas, they put it in its own cage and said, "Oh, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it." It came back in pieces. They delivered it back to me in pieces. I was so pissed, and uh, the people that run the show, they said that they couldn't give me a new trophy, so I just just chucked it. But the most important uh, prize in the contest was the championship ring. I didn't get the championship belt, but the championship ring is like really super expensive, and it's insured for life. It's like a $2,000 ring. That's it right there. World Series of Cosplay Champion. So you know, got that, and yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit more because I'm now curious. So what is that like to have win it, and when did you win it? Because obviously there was a series of, I guess, qualifiers to get to the final round. So which qualifier in the number did you win, and then what was that like prepping up for the real big fight? Because it's kind of like the tournament in Saudi Arabia that the WWE did, where you got to win a few rounds to get into it.
Well, what I did was I did enter the last one, but what happens is everyone that qualified and won, they were in after that last one. So the last one is not the last one. It's really the one after that. That's the last one, where the winner of that last one goes in with everyone else that won previously, and then from there they pick like the main winner.
So, what was that entire experience like? Really, just being at such a high level? Because I would imagine it's a massive level of talent and there, and like, what is that on an inspirational level? Because when I see cool cosplayers and I interview a bunch of cosplayers, I'm inspired by every interview that I've done and then every interview that I do continuously. So what is that like as an inspirational level, and also saying, oh man, I'm now in it deep with people who are actually at my cosplay level, for lack of a better word.
I think the proper term for that is a small worm on a big fucking hook.
That works too. That works too.
What I will say is, all these contests that I've done, even the World Series of Cosplay, I'm always learning something new from everybody that's in the backstage area, and we're all just like mingling. Oh, how did you do this and that? I'm always learning something new, so everybody always inspires me. I remember one time there was a guy that did Batman Beyond, and his mouth moved with the mask like in the cartoon. And I looked at him, and I was actually a little intimidated to approach him. But when I did, I was like, how do you do that? How are you talking with the fabric over the mouth, and like the cartoon? Like it's so spot on. And he told me that he uses this tool that they use at the dentist, where they hold your mouth with this thing. So when they're like doing a root canal or something, so he has that on his mouth over the fabric, and that's how he's able to talk with the fabric over his face. And I was like, I would have never thought of that. That was like genius. But back to everything else. I always am inspired by a lot of the cosplayers that come with these extravagant costumes, and I'm always learning something new from them. And I always pick up a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I remember that this person told me they did this and that. And, if I can apply it, I'll apply it. Or if I need to learn it, then I just research as much as I can to figure out what I'm going to do with what.
Yeah, and let's even talk a little bit about inspiration, because a lot of cosplayers draw from different things. People cosplay what they like, people cosplay what is popular. So, what inspires you, and what do you like to play within the cosplay world, as far as
I
cosplays and costumes and things like that?
I'm always inspired by what I read, mostly because I do a lot of comic book characters. So it just depends on the characters and who like stands out to me. And the thing is, sometimes I'll put down the book, I'll finish it, and then just randomly, as the day goes by, weeks go by, I'm still thinking about this particular story and what this character did, and I'm just like, man, that's just so cool. Like, he's so cool. I just like his style, and that's how the inspiration happens. It's usually from whatever I'm picking up and reading, and if it's somebody that just like, wow, he's just so cool. Like I can totally do that. Like I wanna be that. And that's usually how it happens.
And you do a lot of comic books. Are you more DC, more Marvel? Which side do you fall on in the universe and the epic battle between which company's better?
I would say I'm definitely a Marvel guy, but I do want to do a few DC characters. I do have a few in mind. I'm just still kind of ironing out, how I want to do it. Do I want to do it exactly like the comic book, or do I want to do it as the comic book, but maybe with a little twist of reality? Because a lot of the DC costumes that I've, well, uh, yeah, costumes that I've seen in the comics, a lot of them are just solid color based. A lot of them are just kind of simple in a way, and I think maybe a little element of reality might make it look better as I'm wearing it in real life. So I'm still debating on a few things about that. You know what? Good example, Hawkman. Hawkman. All right, Hawkman always wears just green solid pants, okay? And when I competed, what was it? Emerald City Comic Con. When I competed the first time as
That's a fitting
Hawkman.
one for right now. That's a fitting one for right now. Given that they're postponed, I can't help it. It's a good jab. But continue.
So now in the comics, Hawkman has solid green pants, and I competed wearing the solid green pants, and I won first place in the FX category. And I remember watching the video, and I remember looking at the pants, and I'm just like, it's so plain, like it's nothing about it just grabs me. I was actually surprised, like the pants alone, I would have said, he's not gonna win this. So the next time I wore Hawkman, I used a combination of the colors from the comics and the design for the pants from the CW show. So I used two different type of greens to pattern out the pants, and I thought it looked way better. So that's like an example of a mashup that I did that I might apply to certain characters in the future. If I do determine I'm going to cosplay those characters, that's what I might do.
And that's really interesting to me because obviously a lot of people do mashups. A lot of people do swimsuit variants of characters or do more formal wears of characters. And a bunch of people who I've interviewed have done a bunch of mashups and they're typically really good. And I know this isn't a mashup, but what is that like to create, I would call expansive and expanding a character and their palette and really adding to something that is sort of dull. Because if we actually look at Batman in certain comics, he's not very bright or he's not very, I guess, detailed or color paleted. Or I'm struggling with the words here, but we all know what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
you got
So,
it.
what is that like to really take those liberties to improve upon and accentuate certain characters and their assets, for lack of a better word?
I think depending on the person and their creativity and what they want to do, it's probably like, you know what? I hope they see this and they realize that this is a more better fitting look for the comic character or anime character or whatever the case may be. Um, yeah, but definitely it definitely is a very interesting thing to see in real life when someone's walking the con floor and you see like belly dancing Charizard, and they have the satin and they have it as like the wings and everything else. If it's done really well, like it can just be beautiful.
And now I want to change gears for 1 second as my phone goes off, which is the perfect timing. The perfect timing. My friend's gonna laugh when he knows that he's in this video. Um, but anyhow, getting on to a more serious point, you did mention that your calendar did sell out on Kickstarter. There's a lot of cool cosplays in there. What was that entire like, and where did that idea come from? Because I think you got Batgirls in there. You got a few others. You got a Spider Man. Is there
Yeah.
a Captain America in there, or is Nova in there? Or I don't know all the ones that are in there. There's 12 or 14 or several of them, and a lot of cool ones are in there. So, what was that entire experience like, and what inspired that? And what is that like? Because typically, when we see calendars, and I'm going to say something controversial, tends to be more female centric. It's a rare thing for a guy to do a calendar, so that's fascinating to me in its own right.
Well, I would have to say this started about maybe 5 years ago, actually, where people were requesting, hey, you should like do your own prints, you should like do your own calendar, and I thought to myself, maybe I'm being sexist saying this, but I thought to myself, oh, that's usually a thing that the female cosplayers do. You don't really see guys doing
So
that.
what is that
And
like? Hate to interrupt, but like that's weird to me because like that's my thought too. In a lot of ways, is that that's something that I wouldn't think of as a guy. And
exactly.
so what is that like getting the request to do it and people saying, "Hey, do you have prints?"
I mean, I wouldn't say it was awkward. I just thought like it just wasn't a thing I would do. So I just kind of brushed it off and I just kept brushing it off. Every time people kept asking me, I just brushed it off. And then when was it? Was it? I think it was near the end of 2018. I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do a calendar and I'm going to do it for 2020. And boy, that was a journey, let me tell you. Woo, that was a journey. Child, let me tell you. Um, okay, first of all, it was hard trying to find photographers because a majority of the photographers in the New York area that I know, except for maybe like a small handful, they work specifically with girls and they do, they specialize in the
That is
less
so
known category.
sexist.
Sorry.
That is just terrible against you. How dare that? I
I,
am offended as a
I
male.
I'm telling you the truth. I've lost count how many photographers I've emailed, I've text, and oh, I'm not interested, or oh, I'm booked for this, or oh,
Seems so
you know
odd. Like I'm sorry to interrupt, but like it seems so odd because this seems like such a cool project. This seems like because I've never heard of anything when this first came out, and I knew about it because obviously we're friends on Facebook, and even hearing this, I'm saying to myself like that seems like such a cool project. Seems like such a cool thing to do. And as a photographer, and maybe I think differently, and this is how I run this podcast that's associated that you were on, where I like different. I like cool indie projects. I like people doing different things. And that, like, I'm hearing this, and that's my reaction. Is if I'm a photographer who works exclusively with women, why wouldn't I want to shoot a man? That's just bonkers to me. But I'm continue, please, because now I'm even more fascinated.
Well, I mean, I was very frustrated for quite a long time, but I did have a select amount of photographers that did want to work with me, that have worked with me in the past, and were like so ecstatic about working with me on the calendar. So, big shout out to those guys that help contribute to the calendar, whether you were an editor, the cover designer, Bravo Illustrations, and every photographer that helped bring this to life. Thank you guys so much. But, those were the guys that, saw my vision. They even had their vision, and we just combined forces and mashed things up, and we just created this monstrosity that is the Cap Allender of 2020.
So, given all that, what does that make you feel that you had massive adversity? You did something that typically is not done by men, and a bunch of people didn't want to shoot you, and then you found a bunch of people, and then you actually had it go, and you actually put it together, and then you had a successful Kickstarter on top of that. Because a lot of Kickstarters are complicated. So, what was that entire thing like?
I will not lie, I was very intimidated. At first, I was researching which platform I want to put the funding for the calendar on. Ultimately, at the end, Kickstarter was the best option. So I will have to say that this wouldn't have been possible also with a very good friend of mine, JD Rosario from Unstoppable Comics. He kind of kicked me in the ass and said, "Listen, Huevo Head, you need to do something, and he kind of mentioned the calendar, but he didn't mention it uh, spearheaded the way that I wanted to do it. But it was the kick in the ass I got that helped me make the decision ultimately at the end that said, you know what, I am going to do it. And then I just started putting the blueprint together on exactly what I wanted to do. So definitely thank you, JD, for that.
And what is it like that it's sold out? Because that's kind of cool too. Because people have Kickstarters that they have extra stuff from their Kickstarters. So what is it like that you have no more content from your Kickstarter?
Yeah, I had to make sure I had a calendar for myself. Do you know like that I was like shipping calendars out left and right, and I was looking at how low the supply I was getting, and I was like, wow, I need to save one for myself. And I almost didn't. Like the very last one is my calendar because I need one for myself. But it's so rewarding to see that so many people were so interested in it and they wanted to help fund the Kickstarter and get their own calendar. I mean, it's a real big sense of accomplishment to me, and it helps me feel more like I can really do anything.
And so, as a cosplayer, and I mean, I think you answered part of this, but what does that do to your ego? Because I hate to say it this way, and we kind of dived into it to some degree, but men and women cosplayers are viewed differently.
Absolutely.
On Instagram, they're viewed differently. At conventions, they're viewed differently. I mean, we're entering a controversial topic right now, and I know we are, but what is it like to sort of see that so many people came out of the woods for you and went up to bat and supported you?
It was very surprising. I had my doubts. I did. I actually did think to myself, who's gonna buy this calendar of a guy? 12 months of me? I mean, I would get tired of myself in 12 minutes. So I I went into it thinking, I'm probably, it's not gonna make it, but at least I tried. I put it out there, and then I just saw that the numbers were going up and up and up, and the calendar was successfully funded about 2 weeks before the deadline, and people were still, requesting certain rewards from the Kickstarter. So it was like crazy.
What is that like? Because I've been involved in a bunch of Kickstarters supporting them, and they got funded 12 hours before the deadline. So, what was that like having something that was funded 2 weeks and you have an extra 14 days and it's still going up? And what was that feeling like that, oh, we not only are making this happen now, but we're making it happen 14 days ahead of schedule to some degree?
I honestly, I think I cried a little. Like it was like I kid you not, it was like a cry of joy. Like wow, like to have this much support. I was never expecting it. I just wasn't. No matter how positive or confident I was about it, I I really didn't think like I was gonna make it. I really didn't. And to just see the support come in, and it was an emotional moment for me. It was because I was not expecting it. And as you know, I was like, the godfather of Men versus Costume. We did that calendar. I can almost imagine how Annabelle felt when, every calendar that she put out was successfully funded. And at that moment, I felt that. I felt what she probably felt every time, she would get these projects out there and people would fund them. So for me to have that moment for me, it was just inspiring. It was just emotional, very encouraging, and I honestly feel like I can do anything.
And now we're one third through the year, so I just want to table the calendar for the time being, and I want to talk about something else that's affecting everybody in the world, and it's affecting cosplayers, and I'm curious how it's affecting you. And it's this virus that is occurring because it's affecting me as a panelist, it's affecting me in my con schedule, and certain business interests that I have at cons. And obviously, with cons being canceled, postponed, rearranged, and all sorts of other shenanigans, for lack of a better word, or fuckery as I like to call it. What's going on with you in cosplay and being at conventions and being out there and even being sought after to some degree with everything that's happening?
Honestly, it's been crickets as far as anything cosplay or Comic Con related at the moment since the whole Convoy 19 began. Um, I think that with this time we have off, I think a lot of us, whether we do cosplay or we go to cons, can reflect more on more important matters that maybe we need to pay more attention to. Um, but conventions, there isn't going to be any conventions this year. I honestly think that every convention for this year might be canceled. I think that they're going to want to make sure that once this thing blows over, well, maybe a better word is once this is gone and we don't have to worry about, social distancing and all that stuff, they're going to probably want to take a few months for like big social gatherings, concerts, Comic Cons, other expos of that nature. They might want to just cancel them for the year just to be on the safe side, to make sure it's completely gone. I truly think that that is what might happen.
And now, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but you are not a full time cosplayer. I don't think that's a secret. There are other people that are. So you're in a better position than a lot of other people. And I'm not a big fan of full time cosplayers as a whole. I think it's a ridiculous claim, and people can
I
disagree
honestly
with
don't
me.
believe that's true.
You,
I don't believe that's true. That's like believing in the tooth fairy, a full time cosplayer. Come on.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a ridiculous combination of words, and I think both those words should be eradicated and never next to each other, ever in the dictionary. I think it's BS. And I think it's toxic in many ways as well. Um,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but but how can people? Because I do want to give you an opportunity, because you are still a brand in many ways. You still cosplay. You still need love. You're the minority in this entire sector. Men are the minorities in the cosplay world, at least on any type of corporate level of monetary dough. So, how can people find you on social media, Twitter, Facebook, support you? Any cool projects coming out, or getting like a 2021 calendar or 2022 maybe?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I know 2021 might not happen because the thing is, when I did the 2020 calendar, it was mostly everything was being done through me. And through certain segments in my journey of the calendar, I was working with the photographers and my calendar designer, but it was ultimately me with them. So it was just me and like plus one, in that particular moment. It wasn't like I had like a team to like, oh, your deadline for this, you need to get to this right now, you need to do that. I didn't have any of that. It was just me and whoever shot me or whoever was designing my calendar. That was it. And it's very time consuming when it's just, a very, very small team like that. And I feel like if I was going to do a 2021 calendar, I would have had to have started already or last year to start for 2021. Um, it's very time consuming. It really is. 2022, we'll see about that. We got to see what's happening with our situation right now too, health wise, and maybe we can work. Maybe we can work with that.
And I'm about to get up because I gotta go plug my computer in. So we're about to do the ultimate cool live thing, which is a change of scene. But while I'm changing the scene, I definitely want to give you an opportunity, as I get up, might I add, and figure out how to navigate my computer to safety, everybody, as I'm off screen here. But I do want to give you the opportunity to promote yourself as I move through my apartment, and everybody can see some cool stuff in my background, or possibly garbage on my floor because I'm just sweet and cool like that. So, what is your social media? What is your Facebook? What is your Twitter? What is your Instagram? Where can people find you as I slowly navigate into my bedroom and plug in my computer so we don't cut out?
All right. Well, be careful.
We're almost there.
You
We're
can
almost
find me.
there. I assure you, we're almost there.
You can find me on Instagram at cap underscore Santiago, CAP underscore Santiago, Santiago. And you can find me with the same name on Facebook as just Cap Santiago. And also on Twitter, I think I'm underscore cap underscore Santiago, or it's cap underscore Santiago underscore. It's one or the other, but it's all just Cap Santiago. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I'm a caveman, like the social media thing. I'm trying to keep on top of that, but I still am in the cave and I draw on the walls and like have a club. I'm a caveman.
Well, we're going to end it there, everybody. I'd like to thank Cap Santiago. Go check out his stuff. He's got merch. Go buy it. If you see him at a con, bother him and pick up a print. Pick up a print of him over a female cosplayer because he's the minority, not the majority. And in America, we like to support the underdogs. So that's all I got for you people. So we're finished. I hope you enjoy this. I got a bunch more coming in the next few weeks with a variety of other people. You saw Sam Johnson last Friday. Hopefully this week I'm going to have another person Thursday or Friday. And then next week on Monday or Tuesday, I'm having another person sit down live. And so we're just going to keep on going. It's a fun little hangout. Keep everybody busy, occupied, not get you all stir crazy. Or maybe you want to get stir crazy. I don't know. That's completely up to you. But this is my way of supporting indie people who are doing really cool things that you might not know, who have been on my podcast. And that's the other thing before I exit out of this, everybody, and we end. If you want to know more and have a more formal interview, because obviously we glossed over a lot of content, I did interview Cap Santiago in a more formal way on my podcast, and that's the Pop Anime Comics Lounge. So if you want to have more information, might be 2 years, 3 years old at this point, but goes through a lot of cosplays in a more in-depth way of certain things, like as he spoke, like men versus cosplay, and we speak about that extensively. That's the place to go, and that's Pop Anime Comics Lounge on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, and everywhere else where you can find your podcasts. Till I see everybody next and do another one of these live things, peace.
Thank you.